Rated News Talk leader, Right Side Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Right Side Studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, sometimes the international. And oh, yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. And it's going to be a short week for some, but it's still the middle of the week. So we got to hear from the camel. Play it, man.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Yes, it is. It is hump day. Now, for those of y'all who have 4th of July off, which does include the Right Side staff, yay, you got a short week. But for those of you that go with the full week, listen, it's hump day. You're halfway there. We'll get you all the way to go home time today. And thank you for your attention to this matter. That being said, pushing buttons on the board. Butters is in today again for JP on vacation. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I hope JP's having a good vacation.
He sent me pictures, so it appears that he is. Yes, they are. Believe it or not, they were in Normandy yesterday.
Man,
I know, bucket list item.
That yeah, and around the 4th of July, that's probably pretty cool.
That's pretty epic. So, yep, Butter has been in all week. This week, we really appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for making your time available. Keeping the right side buttons pushed. Always kind of important.
It's been fun.
We got a great show laid on for you today. Coming up at the beginning of hour number 2, Caroline Dobson will be on with us. Caroline Dobson, former congressional candidate, is now running for Secretary of State for the state of Alabama. She will be on to talk about her candidacy, why she wants to run for that position, and we'll get the full skinny on that race with Caroline Dobson coming up at beginning of hour number 2. And halfway through hour number 2, she hadn't been on in quite a while, but she's great. I don't know if you remember Hannah Stevens. So Hannah Stevens is often known as the UA sign girl. The UA sign girl. She became like epically known for always being there with a crazy sign at an Alabama football game, but she's also a Division I athlete herself. And we're going to talk with her about what's going on with saving Title IX and the news that came out yesterday. And then, you know the deal, 4 o'clock, beginning of hour number 3 on Wednesdays always means the Grand Council. Dale Jackson being out of town. We got Scotty Buttram sitting in. So Scott Buttram sitting in for the Dale Jackson. And then also Jeff Poore joining us, Grand Council, beginning at hour number 3. That's a full slate, man. I still got a triple dipper. Hit it.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right. The Triple Dipper. 3 themes, 3 stories, if you will, that we're going to follow as we go through today's show. Listen, the first one is all about races. Races. Who's running for what office? Because y'all, Alabama and Tennessee got some big doings races going on. We're going to talk about it. Number 1, the Triple Dipper. The race is on. I'll give you the straight skinny on several of them. Number 2, saving Title IX. In case you didn't hear, we got some major news yesterday as University of Pennsylvania folded. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. They folded. Title IX is being reclaimed. Women's sports are being saved. We'll talk about it. Saving Title IX. That's number 2 on the Triple Dipper. And then number 3, I didn't get to it yesterday. My plan is to get to it today. Red state, blue state. So yeah, we'll talk about it. You live in a red state. Do you know how much that means? I mean, everybody in this listening area, even though Georgia's got some purple in it, everybody in this listening area, for the most part, lives in what I would call, generally speaking, a red state. Some redder than others, but nonetheless, when you compare to what it means to live in California or Illinois or New York, my gosh, the difference. I'm going to give you some comparisons. Red state, blue state, that's number 3 on the Triple Dipper. All right, let me jump on into the Right Side Way opening monologue, and I'll remind you guys that every single day, the Right Side Way is brought to you by attorney Stan McDonald. Stan McDonald, a partner at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee. He's a 30-year veteran in the practice of law. He is indeed your daily sponsor of the Right Side Way, and I'll tell you more about Stan here in just a few minutes. All right, well, listen, I've told you that the Right Side staff is going to be off for the 4th of July, so we won't be here. I want to make sure, though, that I give homage to the fact that Friday, the 4th of July, is actually one of my favorite holidays. So as a kid, Christmas was always front and center, the best holiday of them all, right? But it was a close race for me between Easter and the 4th of July. I mean, truthfully, as a kid, I didn't get the difference or the importance yet of Easter, but I was all in for the Easter baskets and the candy. But, you know, having to dress up in my newest Sunday go to meeting clothes and comb my unruly hair took some of the shine off of that. So looking back, I will say that as a kid, the 4th of July probably had the higher overall ranking. And I've lived in other countries. I've seen patriotic celebrations and days set aside in other places to honor their own nations. I mean, listen, our own celebration, though, what's not to like? In my opinion, nobody celebrates their own patriotism better than the US of A. Hot dogs, flags waving, bands playing, fireworks. And oh man, listen, if you've heard this show more than a minute, you know I love fireworks. I mean, think about it. A knothead kid like me could run around in shorts and a t-shirt, stay out past dark, eat junk food, and blow stuff up. It was layer upon layer of the best that life had to offer for a knothead kid. It was patriotism. It was friends. It was food. It was explosives. And yeah, I have some distinct memories of the 4th of July. When I was younger, and some of y'all can probably relate to this, we would go through South Huntsville, go across the Tennessee River Bridge to the area we used to call Gasoline Alley. That's where all the fireworks stands were. Apparently, there's an entire cottage industry of pop-up fireworks stands that folks do every day. My dad would give us $10 each, and if we had some allowance money left, we could, add to it. And then we'd fan out and hit the stands and buy the fireworks of our choice. Sparklers, those were the warm-ups, but those were for little kids. Once we were old enough to strike a match, it was a whole new day. We bought all we could squeeze into a $10 bill. Smoke bombs were good for playing Army with my friends. Snap pops were good for gags. Lady fingers were what you got when you were running out of money. Black cat firecrackers and bottle rockets, those were the main staples. And we were always on the hunt, just in case any of the stands had any of those bootleg M80s or cherry bombs, which were kind of on the way out at that point. Just a tad edgy, if you know what I mean. We buy some, we compare notes. There was always that one fireworks stand that would try to undercut the others by giving away a pack of bottle rockets or some punks if you would spend $10. And then it was fun time. Oh, yeah. Admit it. How many of you blew up a Coke bottle or tried to tie a toy Army soldier with a handkerchief parachute to a rocket, which never really worked? And of course, there was always the attempt to thread the fuses together and try to get multiple blasts out of one match. For a period of time, we actually lived on post at Redstone Arsenal. And maybe it was my age at the time. Maybe we just had a rowdier bunch of knothead kids in the neighborhood. But I can remember being out on Skinner Drive in the residential section of Redstone, having bottle rocket wars in the street until somebody would call the MPs. And then we'd have to run hide in the woods. And the MPs would flash their lights and they would laugh themselves and they would leave. And we'd wait 5 minutes and we'd get back to bottle rocket wars once again. As I got older, I still love my fireworks. Charlene doesn't get it. She asks me every time I buy fireworks why I do that. It's like spending money on something that's literally going to burn. Yep, it is. And I love it. But I also know that I have developed a much fonder appreciation for the holiday itself. Sort of like realizing that Easter also has a deeper, more profound meaning that really impacts my life. I have learned that the 4th of July carries such a deeper and more profound meaning itself. Yeah, the flags still wave. The hot dogs are still good. I love seeing family and friends. But there's a difference now. Now it feels more like a privilege. Now it feels like a holiday, but it has a true sentiment attached to it. The sense that it's not just about the gathering. And I still love the fireworks and especially the displays. And I previously served on the board of the Gadsden Etowah County Patriots Association. I helped sponsor major annual fireworks displays over the Coosa River. I once got to sit in a boat in the Coosa River and literally had to look straight up into the explosions, having the debris rain down on me, and it was awesome. I remember major public fireworks displays at Milton Frank Stadium in Huntsville as a kid, or over the USS Alabama at Battleship Park in Mobile. But of all the displays that I've seen over the years, none of them could hold a candle to the best one I ever saw in the Washington Mall. It was the best for a variety of reasons. It was the location, it was the quality, but it was also the sense that I was at the epicenter of everything the 4th of July was designed to celebrate. The greatness of America, the vastness of our blessing, the depth of what is worth defending. I was assigned to duty at the Pentagon at the time, and it was announced that Pentagon families could actually bring their lawn chairs and coolers and be given access to what is known as the Pentagon Parade Field. It's a large, double football-sized, grassy, flat area that looks straight across to the Washington Monument. Well, my son was off at college at the time, but my lovely Charlene and our daughter Caitlin got there to sit on the freshly cut grass on the side of the Pentagon, a building that at the time was still undergoing its final renovations after the damage that was inflicted on the attacks of 9/11. And we joined with so many others, and we watched in awe as the beautiful bright light explosive displays illuminated the Washington Monument against the night sky with every fiery color known to man. It was epic. It was stunning. It was actually very moving. So as we move into this July 4th of 2025, I hope that you'll get some time with family or friends. I hope there's a hot dog and a cold drink for you. I hope you get to laugh and enjoy it all. And I hope that there's fireworks. But more than anything, I want to encourage you. Teach the kids that this is not just a holiday for knothead kids to run around, eat junk food, and blow things up. Be intentional about the 4th of July. Teach the next generation that we stand for the anthem with our hands over our heart and our hats off. Teach the kids that this holiday is a blessing because we live in the United States of America, a nation that has been a blessing to so many. The biggest dog on the international block and the freest country known to history. Tell them the 4th of July is the day we celebrate our independence, and that independence actually means sacrifice, and that sacrifice means commitment, and that commitment means honor. Tell them the world may be a scary place, but that America is the land of heroes. Tell them about the stories of great leaders and soldiers and accomplishments and inventions that all came from America that made the whole world a better place. You tell them that the United States of America should be loved and protected and served and treasured. And tell the kids it's okay to believe that they live in the greatest country. It's okay because it's true. Tell them it's okay to say God bless America because he has and he will if we will let him. And you tell them the 4th of July is a really big deal. And then tell them to be careful with the Black Cat firecrackers and go have a good time. And tell them, if you will, that things are looking up, that we are turning a corner, that we have overcome 4 years of difficulty, that faith and patriotism and honor and morality and common sense are all making a comeback, that taxes are getting lower, that morale is going to be higher, that more people are joining our amazing military than ever before. You tell your kids and grandkids they live in the greatest nation that God ever allowed to exist on the face of this earth. They have no reason to apologize for being American. You tell them that the reason why we have had problems with illegal immigration is really in part because so much of the world still sees us as the land of opportunity. You tell your kids and your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews, your friends down the block, your in-laws and your outlaws. You tell them we have rights. You tell them we have actual rights, not just privileges, not opportunities, but rights. Rights that are enshrined in our Constitution and its various amendments that afford them things like the right to speak, the right to worship, the right to assemble, the right to bear arms, and so much more. And you tell them they have it all because of the men and the women who fought and sacrificed so this great nation would not perish from the face of the earth. And you tell them that as surely as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, that they have freedom. And you tell them that not everyone else in the world can say that. It's true. Because this is the by God United States of America. And the 4th of July, y'all, it's more than just our birthday. It's our birthright. It's our heritage. It's our legacy to the world. So yeah, I say bring forth the 4th. That's what I say. Celebrate, but remember why you celebrate. And God bless y'all. And God bless America. The folks here at Right Side Media wish you the absolute best of times. And that's a wrap for the Right Side Way. Well, there you have it. And yes, it is true. It is absolutely one of the greatest holidays on the face of the earth. Next to those that honor the living God, I say the 4th of July may in fact be the most epic holiday of things that have changed the dramatics and the worth and the values of this world than perhaps any other. You celebrate it, have a good time, and blow something up. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Saving the world one soundbite at a time. Text lines are open. 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. There you go. Text it in. Tell me what you're thinking. I'd love to know your thoughts on that monologue I just did. Speaking of which, let me first tell you, though, about attorney Stan McDonald. Yes, indeed. Stan McDonald, partner at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee. He's a 30-year veteran in the practice of law. He is the daily sponsor of the Right Side Way monologue. He's not only a good attorney, which I happen to know the guy, and I think the world of him, but yes, he's a good attorney. But, oh, by the way, he's also been a right side ruffian, if you will, from way, way back. I mean, listen, he's an OG ruffian because he's been in there in the trenches on conservative policies and politics for years. But yeah, attorney Stan McDonald is also, speaking legally though, able to represent you in any local, state, or federal court. He has represented his clients in thousands of real estate transactions over the years. And I like to say, when Stan McDonald's on your side, you're going to have no greater friend. Likewise, your adversaries would have no greater foe. So yes, indeed, you want to get in touch with him. I'm going to tell you how. Stan McDonald, the law firm is Wilmer and Lee. He's an America First family man. And here's his phone number, 256-479-3020. That's Stan McDonald, 256-479-3020. Tell him you heard about it on Right Side Radio. Oh, yeah, the thing. No representation made. The quality of legal service we perform is greater than the quality of legal service performed by the lawyers. And that was a good one. Thank you very, very much.
I'll give you that. That was
Okay,
a good
thanks.
one. That was a good one.
Great. You going to give me a grade
Completely.
on a scale of 10? Come on. Come on. I'm
I
looking for it.
got a 8.9.
Oh, boy, the Russian judge is being hard today. Thank you very much. Text lines. What do we got? Dave from Capshaw says, Phil, Stephen Green from PJ Media wrote an article regarding the app that I mentioned yesterday. I'm not naming the app, but there it is. He said, I like this quote in it. He says, far be it from me to incur. Okay, his text broke up. That is so weird. His text broke up in midstream. But I think I know what exactly he's saying, because I did see that the app that some knucklehead put up that was supposed to be designed for people to report where ICE is, that Republicans or conservatives have been flooding that app. You're the one that sent me that last night, weren't you? Was you?
Yeah.
Were you the one that sent me the story? Yeah.
Yeah, I saw
That they are flooding it right now with false reports. Just wearing that app out, man. I love it.
make them all run.
Make them. You know what? Yeah. They're being reported everywhere. ICE is everywhere. What do we do?
The best place to go to stay away is outside of the United States.
That's exactly right. Quick, run to Mexico. Okay. Alex Mathen says, I never really appreciated the 4th until I went to Iraq and I saw people who are willing to die in order to vote. There you go. Next to becoming a Christian, she said, nothing has been more transformational. I suspect that's true, Allie. Absolutely. John from Huntsville checking in says, Phil, spectacular monologue. Thank you. He said, definitely one of your best. And I also plan to shoot a few fireworks while I eat some watermelon and watch the annual Rod Serling 4th of July Twilight Zone Marathon. Wow. Which begins on July 3rd and goes through July 7th. Good Lord. He said, by the way, Butters, just want to let you know that you are doing an amazing job filling in for the king of Gen Z, JP. There you go, man.
I'm barely filling his shoes.
Oh, well, you have your own shoes.
Well, there is that.
All right. Good enough. All right, listen, we'll come back in a minute. You want to text in? We got some time. We'll take it. 833-687-4448. Tell me your thoughts about 4th of July. Tell me your thoughts about the meaning of the 4th of July. Do you intend to do anything special with it? Appreciate all of you giving me your input. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, all you right side ruffians out there, you are listening to Right Side Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. This show. Goes from like Huntsville back on over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back on over to Gadsden. All the way down to that loveliest little village on the plains we call Auburn, straight across the line from there to what we now once again call Fort Benning. And then big old patches of North Georgia and Mississippi all thrown in just for good measure. And listen, that's just the radio audience. That's just radio. That's a radio footprint. But nonetheless, we still have a ton of y'all out there in the whole wide world going to the World Wide Web and dialing in right now, watching live stream as we are on Rumble and X and YouTube and Facebook and our website, rightsidemedia.org. And then there's just a ton of y'all that podcast the show and catch it after the fact. Anyway, the bottom line is, wherever you pick up Right Side Radio, we appreciate you more than you can possibly know. You're the reason why we do what we do, and blessings on you. Thank you very much. What you got?
I just wanted to make sure that everybody's aware. For those of you watching online, there's a link I went ahead and dropped in the comments that takes you directly to today's show page, which has got it's got all the resources that Phil uses. It's got we've got links to the guests and the whole monologue and all that stuff.
And the monologue. Yeah, the monologue. If you liked the monologue a moment ago, the full text of the monologue is up there too. The rough draft text. Because I draft a monologue every day. No AI, it's real. It's a labor of love. There are days when I kick myself for starting this, but every single morning, I usually start somewhere around 5:30ish, and I am cranking out show resources and all of it. And then emailing Butters by around 7.
But so every day we got the show page with the resources. So it's a nice curated list of all the stuff. If you're not sure where to go, who to read, what to check out.
Yeah.
And of course the show for the day is embedded right there. So if you miss anything, go back and grab it.
Speaking of a page too, I gotta point out. So Butters started giving stuff away this week. We decided we were going to do a promo code to sell merchandise in honor of the 4th of July. And so, there's a promo code right now. If you go to our rightsidemedia.org website, Butters has already squared it away. He put the promo code on there. The promo is Liberty. If you're checking out, if you buy a t-shirt, a coffee mug, a hat, stickers, one of our Ben Shot bulletproof influence glasses, use a promo code Liberty. When you're checking out, automatic 10% off thanks to Butters squaring that away. But then Butters went one step further. And if you buy a t-shirt, it creates an additional discount on one of our limited edition cork bottom coffee mugs, which, okay, there you go. And apparently a bunch of y'all started doing it this week.
So since he's going to blame me for this,
it's easy. You're right there.
I will personally thank you for those of you that have ordered some stuff. We've been getting some orders in every day this week, and that's awesome. But don't make me look bad, guys. I'm just saying, don't make me look bad.
I got some more text messages I'll catch real quick. Lewis from Trinity checking in. Get my mouse to work here. Lewis from Trinity says, I have 2 good memories of 4th of July. Both were on a trip headed to D.C. While driving to Washington, D.C., we were going through Richmond, and there's an overpass that goes past a Richmond baseball stadium. I know where that overpass is, I believe. So we were driving over it just as they were at the peak of the fireworks. It was like we were driving through the fireworks. They were all at high level. It was kind of a great scene. By the way, I've been on that overpass. It's amazing how high you are when you're coming over that overpass. Yes. And so the other was on the lawn close to the Washington Memorial, sitting there watching the fireworks. Toward the ends of it, we started singing, God Bless America. There's about 10 of us. And we were kind of singing in a low-key tone, but there were people all around us. Come to the end of it, I found it kind of strange. Nobody else joined in, but our voices could be heard. That's great, Lewis. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for that. Good memories. Scott from Ardmore says, Phil, howdy. I wanted to wish you and the Right Side staff a very happy Independence Day. Be safe out there during your celebrations. Thank you, Scott. You as well. All right, listen, let me jump into today's first dipper. And coming up here in about 20 minutes, we'll have one of these people coming on the show. So the election season is upon us, and I know you've not yet been inundated with election ads, but you're going to be, because there are, in our listening area, there are multiple competitive races. Right now, I think for the position of governor in the state of Alabama, I think the heir apparent right now is going to be Tommy Tuberville. I do believe Coach Tuberville, Senator Tuberville, is going to wind up being the guy. He has pretty much cleared house. He came in, I don't mean like a little bit, he came in like hard, fast, and strong. It's sort of like, you know, from the opening kick of the game, right? He just went ahead and returned that thing for a touchdown. But yeah, Coach Tuberville came in, declared himself for the candidacy for governor within a few days of the opening season, if you will, because in Alabama, and every state's different, but in Alabama, the law says you're allowed to kick off your campaign officially and begin raising money for it and all of that 1 year from the date of the primary. Well, the primary is going to be in May of 26. The actual election is going to be in November of 26. So in May of 25, Tuberville kicked off. He raised $3 million in the first week. It's an all-time record for Alabama politics. At that point, pretty much anybody else who was thinking about running for governor began finding other things to do. Because how do you compete with that? Now, Democrats, I will say this, Democrats still claim that they're going to bring some form of litigation trying to derail his candidacy. They think that they can file suit on his state residency. I happen to know, y'all, he lives down by Auburn. He does. He has an actual house. He has paid property taxes on it. He has filed his taxes there. And the fact that he owns a beach house in Florida does not mean he's a resident of Florida. And I'm pretty sure he kind of checked all that out before he declared his candidacy. What you got?
We sent him to DC to represent us. Seems like that ought to be that sets the precedent.
It does. Now I will say this. What he's dealing with right now is not whether he's a resident now, it's whether he's been a resident for 7 years prior. Because for governor, now you remember Hillary Clinton moved to New York so she could run for Senate? I mean, please. But she did.
I know there are differences in the technicalities, but it's still just common sense applied.
Did you just apply common sense to politics?
I know.
What have I told you about
that?
I've tried to tell you, common sense, politics, they don't always go hand in hand.
But I mean, I think if the people of Alabama decided, but whatever.
No, so you and I agree. Democrats, though, are Democrats. And so Democrats right now claim that they're going to file some form of legal action and make him have to prove it. I feel confident he's going to prove it. But here's the thing.
So they just want a different Republican.
What they want to do, I'll tell you what they want to do. They want to get past the primary when it's too late for somebody else to get in, and then be able to say, see, we told you, shabam, and then be able to try and do a whole Doug Jones walk into the office kind of thing. That's what happened. Doug Jones, he just sat idly by and saved his money while the press derailed Roy Moore and then walked into the office. And he was quickly gone after his term ran out because he didn't get reelected. But they think they can do that to Tuberville. It's not going to work. Here's the other thing. Keep in mind, the Alabama Republican Party is who qualifies the candidate. If the party is satisfied that the candidate meets the requirements, I feel confident that will weigh heavily in his favor in any potential for legal action. So there's that. Now, Tennessee, all my folks up yonder in Tennessee and our Chattanooga audience, we're still waiting to see what's going to wind up happening with Marsha Blackburn. But right now, what we are looking at is that Marsha Blackburn is considering leaving the U.S. Senate and running for the governor's office in Tennessee. By all rights, she'd be a good one. She certainly is, in my opinion. She's not the dark horse. She's going to be the lead candidate because she comes in with statewide name ID. She's going to come in with a war chest of money to spend, and I suspect too that she's rather popular up there. I mean, she's a good one. She's one of those. The only thing I hate though is we're losing Tuberville and we're losing Blackburn to the U.S. Senate. Now we got some good candidates looking at running right now in Alabama, and I feel certain we're going to see a few step up to run for Marsha Blackburn's seat once she declares what she's going to do. But this is going to be a change. It's going to be a sea change. And they're not the only ones, by the way. There are members of the U.S. Senate running for the governors, and then you got Byron Donalds running for Florida. He's a congressman, but we have some strong conservatives who are leaving to go be, hopefully, the governors of their states. And Alabama is no different. What does that mean for us? Well, look at what DeSantis has accomplished in Florida. In my opinion, the most effective governor in the entire nation has been Ron DeSantis. I say that as a conservative. I say that as somebody who's, obviously a Republican. But I also say that as somebody who has watched him from afar doing the things he does, leading the way, rallying the troops, pushing back against the woke. And by the way, he did it during a time when the Biden administration and all of the weight of wokeness was being thrown at him. He was bucking even Disney, which is the biggest entity in their state. So, yeah, look at what Ron DeSantis was able to accomplish. That's why I think it's gotten the attention of people like Tommy Tuberville. Hey, I can be one of 100 doing good things in the U.S. Senate, or I can go home and be one of one and be the governor of my state. Maybe I can get more done for my people that way. And that's what's happening. Multiple other races going on. I'll tell you about a few of those when we get back from this break. But yes, this Alabama season we're about to be in is probably one of the most epic you're going to see. We have some major competitive races, like real competitive. And I'll tell you about a few of those when we get back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just, I mean, like, man, bulletproof influence. That's what I'd like to say. Adam from Athens says, me and my cousin used to take tennis rackets and M80s and hit them back and forth until they blew up. He said, not the smartest, but for knucklehead boys, it sure was fun. I'm now wishing I had thought of this. I am wishing I had thought of this. I'm still thinking now, at the very least, you can do that with a smoke bomb. Just bat that sucker back and forth and watch the trails of smoke go through the air. This is a thing. I feel badminton rackets and smoke bombs coming on this weekend. Michael from Arab says Tuberville would draw federal and state retirement. Okay. I don't think he gets federal retirement. Listen, I think everybody thinks, oh, they get this cushy retirement as soon as they get elected to the Senate. No, they still have to get vested in their retirement over time, like any other employee does. Anyway, he may already have a state retirement. Then again, I don't think it matters because I'm pretty sure he got paid quite well as a coach over time. Connor from Athens says Trump and DeSantis getting along once again. All is good in the world. Now, if we can get Elon Musk back in the fold, that'd be huge. Jeff from Indiana giving you some insight right now about something to do with WVNN. So check that out if you don't mind. Do you have anything over there on the YouTube side?
We've had a few comments so far.
I tell you what, though, I would love to know where some of these folks, you and I are talking off the air. If you're on YouTube or you're on one of our other streaming sources, tell us where you're from. We'd love to see where our audience is dialing in from. That's very cool.
Yeah. Drop in the comments. I saw one, some nice comments. Somebody asking you to run for Senate, by the way. Justin H said, I look forward to the show every work day. Best show on WVNN.
Justin, thank you very much, man.
So, thanks. But yeah, drop it in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from.
Hey, so the races that are going on right now in Alabama, and there's a number. Just know this: in the Alabama audience, those of y'all are listening, you are about to face, or you are really kind of in right now, what may be one of the most epic campaign seasons at the state level that we've ever had. I say that because I think every single statewide office, which will be like auditor, secretary of state, treasurer, attorney general, lieutenant governor, all of them are open seats. So what that basically means is it's an all call. I mean, every one of them would be up for reelection, but very often when you have an incumbent, right? Somebody who's already been there and they're running for reelection and they don't always stack it. This time though, every single one of them's an open seat. What that basically means is it's a free-for-all, because it's always best to run against an open seat compared to running against an incumbent who has the power of the incumbency. One of those is the Secretary of State's office. Now, Wes Allen's done a great job being Secretary of State. He's running for Lieutenant Governor, which I'll talk about more in a minute. But Secretary of State's office right now, the most competitive piece of this race is Andrew Sorrell, who has been our state auditor, who was one of the most conservative members of the Alabama legislature. I actually personally awarded him what's called the Policy Warrior Award from the Alabama Policy Institute when I was there. Andrew Sorrell is running against, as of this week, Caroline Dobson. As last week, Caroline Dobson. Caroline Dobson will be on the show here in just a few minutes. But Caroline Dobson, candidate for Secretary of State, was previously a candidate for Congress, but she was also running in a difficult, newly drawn, mostly Democrat heavy district down in middle Alabama. Caroline Dobson just announced that she is running for Secretary of State in the 2026 Republican primary. She just loaned her campaign $500,000. So apparently Caroline comes from money, but she just loaned her campaign $500,000 to get it started. Well, okay. Andrew Sorrell announced that he just hit $50,000 in the first 12 days of his campaign in actual grassroots donations, which was itself a fundraising record for grassroots for that position. Andrew Sorrell currently has a war chest of about $270,000. So you're looking at Caroline Dobson going all in now. She's saying, I intend to be Secretary of State. I intend to do so. I'm going to upfund my campaign with a loan. And you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to loan money to your campaign. And you can, if you make enough off of donations, you can pay yourself back. So is she going to pay herself back? I don't know what her personal finances are, but apparently they're good. $500,000 just got loaned to her campaign by her. This is going to be interesting, but that's a big race. And the Secretary of State, more so than ever in the last few years, has become a very key position. Very key because election integrity falls under their purview. Everything elections. The Secretary of State is the chief elections officer for the entire state. That's why in some of these states you saw them trying to get Donald Trump off the ballot or changing the rules for the 2020 election. Those were typically Secretary of States gerrymandering the issues or dealing with, trying to get Trump off the ballot because they're the chief election officer. Now, Lieutenant Governor, that's going to be your other big competitive race. Andrew Sorrell and Caroline Dobson, big race for Secretary of State. In Alabama, I think that Tuberville's got a shoe-in right now for the race for governor. So the next biggest office is going to be lieutenant governor. They run separately. They don't run as a ticket. But right now, Wes Allen, who has been our current Secretary of State, is running to be the lieutenant governor. I can see that. I can also tell you that John Wall, chairman of the Alabama Republican Party, has made known that he is considering running for lieutenant governor. If that happens, it's going to be an immediately competitive race. Right now, there are some others in the race. Our Agriculture Secretary, Rick Pate, good guy. I like Rick Pate. He's running for lieutenant governor also. I don't think his candidacy is near as strong. And then Nicole Wadsworth, who I actually just saw the other night at the Moms for Liberty dinner. She's struggling. I don't see her candidacy going anywhere. I think that Nicole Wadsworth's going to have trouble getting it off the ground because there's been so many question marks about the way she's presented herself to the public. But Nicole Wadsworth is still in. But right now, if John Wall gets into that lieutenant governor's race, then Wes Allen immediately has his hands full because that's going to be a very competitive statewide name. That's going to be somebody who has, a well-known figure without having been in office already. It's being the chairman of the state party is as close to being a statewide candidate as you can get without actually being a candidate. All right, you guys, listen, stay tuned. We're going to have Caroline Dobson calling in momentarily. I'm starting to get you familiar with who these people are running for office. And the first one out the gate, Caroline Dobson, candidate for Secretary of State. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Tennessee's syndicated news talk leader, Right Side Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Right Side studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, sometimes the international. And oh, yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to hour number 2 here on a hump day. And for those of y'all that are going the full work week, blessings on you. The 4th of July is going to give a lot of you guys some early time. I got to remind you, though, real quickly before I go to our guest on the phone. This is July 2nd. We always think of July 4th as the day, and it is. It's the officially recognized day. But on this day, July 2nd in 1776, is when the Continental Congress actually passed the resolution that proclaimed the sovereignty of the American colonies. That's right, July 2nd. It was not published, though, for another 2 days, which is when it became a public matter for broad dissemination, and that's why July 4th is the day. Anyway, I say all that to say, happy July 2nd. We're looking forward to July 4th. In the meantime, let me go to the phones because we've got Caroline Dobson coming on the line right now. Caroline Dobson is a candidate for Secretary of State here in Alabama. She has jumped into the race most recently. Some of y'all remember Caroline Dobson's been on this show multiple times. She and I ran into each other again the other night at the Moms for Liberty dinner. She's an attorney with the Maynard firm in Montgomery and was also, raised and born and raised on her family farm down in Monroe County. Undergraduate degree from Harvard, graduate degree from Baylor University School of Law, and a former congressional candidate as well. Caroline Dobson, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. It was so nice to see you this past weekend, and that was a tremendous event. So I have to give a lot of praise to the Moms for Liberty for getting, again, Marjorie Taylor Greene and so many wonderful folks out.
Yeah, it was a good event. The protesters showing up told me we were doing everything right.
Exactly. No, and I think certainly frustrated a lot of folks who maybe weren't aware. So again, that was, I think, good publicity for Moms for Liberty and what they're doing. Absolutely.
Well, listen, you've decided to jump into the race for Secretary of State. You and I previously got acquainted, if nothing else, over the phone with your run for Congress. I think it's probably fair that people get a feel for who you are. So give us just a minute about Caroline Dobson, and then let's talk about Secretary of State.
Sure. Yes, and thank you again for having me on last year. It was such an important race, and while I was disappointed not to have won, I am so grateful for all the wonderful people that I got to meet and all the wonderful Alabamians that shared their concerns and thoughts with me over the course of last year. As you mentioned, I grew up on a farm in Monroe County, went to Harvard, where I was a proud member of the Harvard Republican Club. There were about 12 of us, but it was a very formative experience because I was blessed in having grown up in a community in South Alabama where I didn't have to defend my conservative beliefs, and not everyone, was right of center, certainly, but there was civil discussion, and I got to Harvard, and that was not the case. There was certainly a bias then that has only gotten worse, as we've certainly seen, and I applaud the Trump administration for really holding Harvard's feet to the fire when it comes to the anti-Semitism they've allowed on campus. But going to Harvard actually made me more conservative and more politically active. I went to Baylor for law school, and because it had a reputation, it's a Baptist law school, as being a right of center law school, which you as a fellow lawyer, there aren't too many of those.
Exactly.
And then met my husband in Texas and moved back to Alabama in 2019, right before our first daughter was born, because I wanted to raise my kids in Alabama. I'm so grateful for this state and all the wonderful people in it. And last year, again, while it was disappointing, I knew that was God's plan. And it only deepened my desire to want to serve the state. I'm really excited about potentially being able to serve as your next Secretary of State. I think that my background as a transactional lawyer, most of my clients are small businesses. I'm on the Secretary of State's website on a daily basis, but advising small businesses, I think, provides for a really good background with respect to all of the business services that are handled by the Secretary of State's office, and ensuring that we reduce business fees and make it easier for small businesses to operate in this state. That experience, combined with my experience as a candidate and witnessing firsthand the vital importance of election integrity. And the fact too that so much of our election integrity efforts hinge on private citizens being willing to step up and volunteer. And I was very grateful for that in District 2. But it made me cognizant of ways in which we can all work together to ensure that our elections are secure. As a mom, I know that without secure elections, my daughters won't grow up in the same country that you and I did. And so it's really a fundamental that we work to make Alabama's elections the safest and most secure and most trustworthy in the country.
Well, I agree with all of that. Let me jump in there then and ask you a few things about it, because Alabama, I mean, granted, I think that we do elections probably better than most. And some of that, when I was in the legislature, we passed the photo ID requirement. And then one of your potential predecessors, John Merrill, he made it a point to make sure that the photo ID was accessible to everybody. And so there was that. And then I know that the outgoing Secretary of State, Wes Allen, has done a lot in cleaning up voter rolls. And in making sure that the integrity of our voter rolls is sound. And by the way, I said it earlier on the show before you called in, the Secretary of State is really almost like a bifurcated position. You are business and recordings and all those things. And then you're also, like you said, Chief Election Officer. So on the election side, what do you think you're going to be looking for in terms of I don't know, like what's your plan? What do you want to accomplish as the election officer for the state?
Well, you're right. We've had some wonderful secretaries of state in this state, and one that inspired me when I was at Alabama Girls State. I heard Beth Chapman when she was Secretary of State speak, and it first kind of piqued my interest in the office. And so we've really been, and also to have legislators like you who have been really focused on election integrity, the photo ID, and then last year, Senate Bill 1 was the prohibition of absentee ballot harvesting, which was huge to have that law on the books. Just a couple of weeks ago, Wes Allen announced that our ballots will now have invisible security emblems. So again, we've been very fortunate to have not only secretaries of state, but also legislatures that have been really focused on this. But there is always so much more that we can do with respect to voter rolls. I think, again, with the sheer influx of illegal aliens that came across our southern border during the 4 years of the Biden administration, that is going to, purging our voter rolls is going to have to be a constant, working with our registrars and ensuring that they get up-to-date lists of folks to remove from voter rolls. But in addition, I would like to form an election crimes team within the Secretary of State's office. Florida has an election crimes division, and I would like to really emulate that. We have some of the finest law enforcement officers and prosecutors, but I want to enhance their ability to bring cases by having a dedicated team of election experts who can investigate voter fraud claims proactively on the ground. Because as you know, there are a lot of voter fraud takes place before the election. It's incorrect curing of absentee ballots. It's absentee ballot harvesting. You can even go back to the voter registration process, and we saw that in District 2 last year. We had liberal activists, out-of-state groups, many of which were funded by George Soros, come in and try to undermine our election security and mislead voters. And so we really have to protect the process from start to finish, from voter registration to when the vote is certified. And so, again, I want to create a team that will make it easier for our law enforcement and our prosecutors, working with sheriffs, the AG's office, DAs, to apprehend those who cheat and to prosecute them. I think
that's admirable. And in fact, I completely agree with that. And I would even encourage the inclusion of the U.S. attorney's offices in the state, because there's state and federal elections that can have issues, and those votes transcend state elections. Yeah, I think, okay, so I love that, and I think that's great. On the business side of things, and I'm with you. A lot of my work is what I would call small business and transactional, just like yours. I do litigation as well, but a ton of my work, even real estate, is all tied to constantly going to public records to include the Secretary of State's office. Is there anything about that side of things, and we got about a minute and a half to 2 minutes left here, that you think you could see improvement in that you might be able to bring to bear?
Well, look, I want to make sure that Alabama becomes the top destination for business growth and incorporation. It's great to have businesses locate here. We need them to incorporate here. And to do that, I will reduce fees on businesses operating in Alabama, to your point, making it easier to get public records and guaranteeing same-day business services. Because, as you mentioned, countless Alabamians rely on timely and effective government services in this office to support their families and keep their businesses running.
No, I think that's okay. Listen, as the attorney who deals with that stuff on a daily basis, yes, I completely agree. And I hate it when you're constantly having to pay a fee to get something that you just need to see for your client's benefit, and maybe there's a way to do that better.
Right.
Well, listen,
Right. Exactly.
Caroline Dobson, just real quick. I mean, so you're married. You said you have I know you had one daughter you mentioned. How many kids do y'all have?
We have 2 daughters now, so we're very blessed to have 2 girls who are thoroughly enjoying summer. So very, very grateful for them. And again, that spurs me to offer myself for service even more, because I want to ensure that they have opportunities here in Alabama, and that the state continues to grow and prosper in a way that benefits all of our families here.
Well, they say that a week is a lifetime in politics, and you've got a year and a half.
Well, I'll take that over the 100 days I had in the primary for congressional district 2. I can promise you.
No doubt. All right. Well, listen, Caroline Dobson, we'll be having you on again, and we appreciate your time today. Thanks for being available.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Happy 2nd of July and 4th of July down the road.
All right. Thanks. You too. All right. Take care. All right. That's Caroline Dobson. All right. Listen, we're going to do this periodically. We're going to start reaching into Tennessee, reaching into other races in Alabama, all across our listening area. It's important that you guys have a feel for who's out there running for a race. The other day, we had Emily Jones, who's running for state school board. We've already had Jared Hudson, who's running for U.S. Senate. We'll be getting some others. I've already been talking to them and getting them lined up. But yeah, we'll be doing this periodically. I think it's important you guys know the candidate. All right. Let's take me to a break there, Brother Butters. Take that break. Come right back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. We are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Saving the world one soundbite at a time. Got a few text messages that we got here. Fritzy from Huntsville says, Colonel, why are Alabama residents referred to as Alabamians and not Alabamans? Like Alaskans, they're not Alaskians. Great job to the team. I have no idea, Fritz. I don't know what to tell you. Alaskans, Arkansans, got them Arkansans over there. Georgians, they're Georgians, but they're Georgians. I don't know. The English language is weird. Why does Colonel not have an R in it? I don't know.
So Colonel. So my grandfather was also a colonel, and his last name was Cornell. Talk about being confused and a bunch of Marines being really like, Colonel. No, it's Colonel Cornell.
Nice. What about if you had your last name was Major? Your Major. I knew a guy that was Major, I believe.
Well, so he was Major Cornell, which probably confused a few people along the way at some point.
Aaron from Decatur says, I was part of the grassroots money raised for Andrew Sorrell. I don't think we have another office holder in Alabama that's more conservative. I supported him in his bid for representative and for auditor too. He's a good one. Aaron, appreciate that. Thank you for being the guy who would support a candidate. And I'll have Andrew Sorrell on here pretty soon too. Dave from Capshaw says, I know political candidates are trained to get as much info out as in a short amount of time as possible, but sometimes they can say so much so fast, I don't really hear what they're saying. Nothing against those candidates. I guess that's just the nature of the beast. Well, there's that. There's also the idea that they feel like they got to say it, but then they also are worried that if they don't keep talking, that someone's going to ask them a question they don't want to deal with. But I'm not usually a gotcha guy, but I will ask the hard questions when necessary. Herb from Gurley says, if you guys want to start a rock and roll station, I'm all for it, but I will miss your astute political and sports comments. I don't know what this is talking about. Why would we start a rock and roll station? What are we talking about here? I don't know.
Maybe there was some commercial that played that.
Something I don't know about. Herb, tell me what's going on, brother.
I am not here to do rock and roll. That is not.
No, although
I would not go well.
We do like our bumps.
Oh yeah,
we have some good bumps. Dude, what do you got over there? You said you had a question. Somebody was asking you about fireworks.
First, I will say for maybe we need to look at getting candidates on to do a long form podcast, and then they can cover a lot more ground, and then we can get on the radio. So, So John asked Butters. So what's your favorite July 4th food, and what's the best fireworks show you've ever seen?
All right, food first. What's your favorite food? Favorite 4th of July food.
4th of July. I mean, a good smash burger is hard. It's hard to beat.
Wow. Some ribs. I like me some ribs.
Oh
too.
yeah.
Ribs, some fresh corn, baked beans.
Well, so the fireworks.
Watermelon. Hang on, I'm not done. There's gonna be more.
What? Dude, we start the show hungry.
Pecan pie.
We start the show hungry.
And get a cold Coke poured over ice. Lord have mercy. I'll see you later. I'm heading out of here to get something to eat.
All right. We'll cover.
What else you got? What else you got? What else? Oh yeah, the fireworks. What about the fireworks?
So the first thing that comes to my mind is watching a live predator feed of a B1 dropping 22,000 pound bombs on some bad guys.
That's a fireworks display.
I think that counts.
I will count that.
But otherwise, probably one of the most memorable fireworks was as a college student watching, sitting on the stern of a Navy frigate as a young midshipman, watching fireworks going off on the shoreline in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Was pretty fun experience.
Wow. You just had a front row seat to it and just sat there and watched it go, huh?
So it was a double-edged sword because it also meant we were stuck on the ship and not there enjoying the beach.
In the U.S. Virgin Islands. No shore leave for you.
Yeah.
You know what? If I were the captain, I wouldn't trust the young college midshipman to go ashore in the Virgin Islands either.
Or the rest of the sailors on the ship either.
That is cool. All right, listen, we're going to come back from this break here in just a minute. And Hannah Stevens, known as the UA Sign Girl. If you guys remember, she's called to the show multiple times in the past, but we ran into her again the other night and said, hey, come on the show. And then the thing happened with Title IX and what's going on with, University of Pennsylvania. Listen, I thought I'm going to get Hannah the Sign Girl calling in because she's a former D1 athlete herself. All that to say, coming up next, Hannah Stevens, the UA sign girl, Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. Whew, I mean to say, it goes like from Huntsville back on over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I mean down to that loveliest little village on the plains that we call Auburn, straight across the border from there to what we call Fort Benning once again. Benning. And then big old patches of North Georgia and Mississippi all thrown in just for good measure. And that's just radio. Then there's all you podcasters and all you folks live streaming the show. The bottom line is this: wherever you are, we appreciate you. Thank you for making this show what it is. We couldn't do it without you. Hey, listen, I'm switching gears right now. Dipper number 2, I called it Saving Title IX. So you may recall the law, Title IX as it's known, was designed to create sort of an equal playing field, if you will, for women in education, all things education, which can include sports. The most maddening thing, most ridiculous thing that I've seen over the last few years has been the misguided perception or idea or fantasy, if you will, that a guy can pretend he's a girl and then compete in girl sports and get away with it. Well, there have been some changes. We've had some things happen. And just in the Trump administration, there's been a complete revocation of that fantasy world that the liberal left likes to live in. We're putting things back in order. And we just had a major announcement come out of University of Pennsylvania yesterday. I thought, you know what? We've got somebody who hadn't been on the show in quite a while. I just ran into her the other night, also at the Moms for Liberty dinner. And she's actually been a former D1 athlete herself. She was often known as the UA sign girl because of showing up with her face painted and a sign that always had something on it that was kind of interesting at an Alabama game. Anyway, all things sports. Hannah Stevens is on the phone right now. Let's talk about Title IX. Hannah Stevens, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Phil. How are you today?
I'm good. That was a very long introduction. I apologize.
I am honored. I'm so excited to be back joining you today.
Well, I'm glad to have you. It was fun to run into you the other night too. We hadn't seen each other in a while, but
yes,
listen,
sir.
You were a D1 athlete, weren't you? On the crew team or something at Alabama? Is that what I recall?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Well,
Row Tide.
Row Tide, yeah, ROW, Row Tide.
Yes, sir.
Listen, I got to ask you because I mean, you not only had your own sports world time, but you also had your own time with ESPN because you've been
yes, sir.
You've been a sportscaster. You've been involved in talking all things sports, and now here we are looking at the whole Title IX debacle. Give me your thoughts on where that's been and where you think we're headed.
Yes, I mean, it's so hard, Phil, because I remember being a little girl, and I used to idolize USA Soccer, right? Like the women's soccer team. And just what they stood for. I mean, Brandi Chastain, Mia Hamm, Christine Lilly, like all these women who brought women's sports to light. And just to see our society go from this is amazing, look what women are capable of. And, even old movies like A League of Their Own, right? I mean, these ideas that women should have their own equal playing field. And now somehow we're just kind of morphed into losing the ideology of what a man and what a woman is, but also that now it's okay for men who are not doing well in their own biological race, in the men's category in their sports, to now join women's and then take over. And it's happening not just in swimming, it's happening in all of these different sports. And it's heartbreaking because, how is it fair? It's not. That's the whole point. But I'm so thankful for the Trump administration and what President Trump stands for, and that is for women's rights and keeping things pure. And we're finally having a president who has some common sense and a voice and is using it for the right reasons. And so I'm thankful for this step in the right direction.
Well, I am too. It's been a series of steps, really. I mean, appointing Linda McMahon to be the Secretary of Education. She went in, and by the way, Linda McMahon is the kind who I think she would basically just like lop off heads if they weren't going to obey. But
sure.
But she's been bringing the pressure at the basically the direction of the president. And so I guess you saw the story. University of Pennsylvania had this guy, Will Thomas, I believe his name was.
Yes, correct.
And began claiming that he was a female, going by the name of Leah Thomas, swimming D1 sports, and setting records as allegedly a woman when he's not. And yesterday, University of Pennsylvania just said, I'm sorry, we're done with all that. We're going to be issuing a formal apology and removing all of his titles. Do you see that story?
Sure. Yes, and I have so many thoughts on that.
Well, roll with a few. What do you got?
Well, I'll say this. I think before we even talk about Will Thomas, I think we need to give a round of applause to Riley Gaines because
Oh, yeah.
I know you and I both had the pleasure of meeting her. I've actually, stayed in contact with her since then, and I've just told her many times how proud I am of her for her boldness to not only stand up for what's right and true in the world, but what the Bible says is right and true. And so, she has been such an inspiration to so many young girls all over the world that have watched someone, regardless of what the left says, regardless of what cancel culture says, that she is strong in her convictions and not afraid to stand up for what's right. And I think if Riley would not have, I'll say this too, if Riley would not have done what she did, I don't think we would be in this place because she has been a consistent vocal woman standing up for women's sports.
Yeah.
But I want to also say this. It's a shame that she was put in the situation to begin with. She should not have had to been the voice of reason. There are so many people on the collegiate level, whether it's the SEC or the NCAA or, our pathetic former president, if you want to call him that, and, should have stepped in and said, hey, this is not right, enough's enough. But no one did. And so she had to do what she had to do. And I think people want to discredit Riley because of one race that, she didn't win first place. But she had a lot of records and championships and medals in college for Kentucky. She was a fantastic swimmer, but I just want to say what she did was fantastic because we wouldn't be having this conversation. But the point I'm trying to make is she shouldn't have had to be the person of reason because there are so many other men and women who should have stepped up for her in college when this happened and said, this is not right. Something's going to have to change. Is this the right thing Penn's doing? Yes. But they shouldn't have had to been pressured by the Trump administration. They should have done the right thing years ago. And first off, not let Will Thomas compete as a woman, but secondly, certainly not let him take medals, podiums, and records from women competing against other women.
Yeah. I mean, and you look at it and think, okay, and this is not sexist to say it this way, but men and women are built differently. Musculature is
absolutely.
A lot of times the weight is different. If you've got a sport where there's physical contact like basketball or something, you can only imagine the injuries that can result. You've seen things that have happened with young ladies having their world rocked by injuries in volleyball. And I even saw some in ice hockey, believe it or not. I'm thinking, what are you doing?
Exactly.
And I'm glad the Trump administration has weighed in as hard as they have, because one of my concerns was it was going to take somebody being killed before they actually begin to make change.
Absolutely.
Well,
I mean,
go ahead.
I'll say this too. I think there's a reason, Phil, that we've not yet had to have the conversation of a woman joining a men's sports league.
Yeah.
Not that it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
I know there are women that compete, but I was a go and get 'em young girl, Phil. I mean, I used to play PE football, flag football and tackle football with the boys when I was a kid. No one was upset about that, right? I mean, everyone knew that a girl's going to be weaker and smaller than a guy. But if we would have had, boys joining the softball team and women's basketball team in the 90s, we would have been like, what are we doing? But for some reason we've got to this place, but it's a lot easier for a man to say, you know what, I'm not doing well as a man in my league. I'm going to identify as a woman to try to make themselves feel better and win championships, while really what they are is a thief. They're stealing from women.
They are stealing from women, and they're not just stealing the medals or the moment on the podium. They're stealing the dreams and the aspirations.
Exactly.
They're stealing from kids who, like you, had worked for years to get to a point where they could compete at that collegiate level, only to have a guy step in at the last minute. And sometimes even in high school. I mean, we're seeing right now where girls are having to file suit because I saw one where in a track and field event that she placed off the podium, and had she been on the podium, which she should have been because she was number 4, if she'd been on the podium, she would very likely have gotten a scholarship, which she didn't get because she didn't have enough wins to her belt.
Exactly.
It's nuts what we've gone through over the last few years.
I agree.
Well, listen, I mean, I think we're on the right track. Now, there's some states still doing holdouts. I mean, California's still hanging on. Maine is still holding on. What do you want to make a prediction here? What do you think? Are we going to see all the states come back around at some point?
I think you are, Phil, because I think we finally have a president that is not a coward. I mean, on every single level. I mean, I think what I love seeing the most about Trump is not just his tenacity, but he's playing chess when everyone else is playing checkers. And people on the left side of the political swing don't see it that way, right? And this is what happens when you have a president who wants to put his country and Americans first. And we haven't had a president like this in a very long time, since Trump was president last. And I think what we're seeing is institutions have been able to be more vocal than our former president, because he literally couldn't speak. But what we see now is we're putting the power back in the right person's hands. No longer can an institution tell our government, no, we're not doing it this way, y'all listen to us. But instead, now we have institutions having to listen to a president and say, you know what, if you're going to do X, Y, and Z, we're going to hold federal funding from you. And when institutions like Penn or Harvard, their money's taken away, then they're like, you know what, he's not playing with us. This is actually serious. I am glad that Penn's doing what they're doing, but in my mind, in my opinion, it's a year late and $1 short.
Well, and I agree with that completely. And I think it's embarrassing. And I hope that brings up a point. I hope that somewhere in the mix, there are people who are in official capacities who are now embarrassed of what they allowed to happen. Not just, I hope they're ashamed.
Exactly.
I hope they are feeling the weight of what they actually participated in or turned a blind eye to over the last few years, because it's galling and it makes no good sense whatsoever. And it's an absolute embarrassment on the historical record. They're going to have an asterisk by their name, in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, and I'll say this too. If I want to call it someone, I kind of want to call it the SEC, right?
Oh,
I mean, why not just tell Riley, you're not going to be competing in this race because this is unfair, and we're going to make a stance and say, as the SEC, you know, because that's what they like to say is, you know, we're the best, right? We're going to prove a point and not even let our SEC athletes compete against the man, because this is not fair and this is not right. If you would have had a conference like the SEC do that because it means more, you know, that's what the SEC says, then they would have been able to change the stigma in the conversation years ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of people you can point fingers at, but it's just a very frustrating situation. And, you know, it's kind of like this. We can say we're going to remove Will Thomas from the record books and do all this, but the damage is done. I mean, some of these people did not compete in USA swimming. They didn't get to go to the Olympics. They didn't get to do other things because they lost out on records. They lost out on championships. They lost out on placements. And you can't tell someone, hey, I'm sorry, this happened 2 or 3 years ago, we're making it right. That doesn't fix what's happened since then. And so I just think that, like I said, not only is it a year late and $1 short, but I think it kind of is a slap in the face to all the women like Riley Gaines who have been speaking for several years about this. And maybe it was because they're a woman, they didn't take them seriously. But, you know, I hope people look back and say, you know what, I'm embarrassed that I did not stand up and do what was right years ago. I agree with you 100%.
Well said. I knew you'd have good commentary. Listen, my friends, good to have you back on, and great
Thank
to see
you.
end of the night, and we'll have you on again
Yes, sir.
soon. All right.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. You have a blessed day. Thank you, Phil.
Take care. Hannah Stevens, the UA sign girl, who, by the way, used to have her own show on ESPN2, and probably right up there almost with JP in terms of being able to quote all things sports. But I knew she'd have some commentary because she was a competitor at the Division I level when she was on crew at Alabama. All right, listen, take me to a break there, Butterman. We'll take that break. We'll come right back, get caught up on some text messages, and move the commentary forward. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just making common sense like a superpower. Hey, I got a series of stories here on the Title IX thing that I probably won't even get to right now because it's just, but I think Hannah Stevens said it so well a moment ago. And I will point out one thing though that's a true news story. I got this off the Maine Wire. Remember that Maine, we've had Representative Laurel Libby on several times. She stood up for females in this very issue and got censured for it as a state representative. By the way, she just got her voting and speaking rights back. Believe it or not, took a while, but she did. But what's happening right now in Maine is slowly but surely they are cracking the code. And I got a story here off the Maine Wire, mainewire.com. There was a group of female athletes at a sporting event when it was announced that one of the main school districts that they are in, the J school district, they call it, the J school district had just decided that they were not going to allow transgender participation in female sports. And the interesting thing is the girls who were all together at their sporting event literally began clapping and yelling and celebrating. It means so much to them. That's the thing. You can say what you want to. Oh, it's all about everybody's being mean to Leah Thomas. What about the other athletes who care so much? That's the point here. I mean, I'm the father of a daughter. I watch my daughter play sports. I mean, she was playing tennis and all the and soccer. And I got to tell you, listen, I'm one of those dads who you would not have wanted to try this with my daughter's team. I see Butter shaking his head. You've got two girls and they're both athletes. Just don't mess with our girls. But these girls are cheering when they found out the news while they were all together in uniform at their soccer game. I think it was.
Yeah. No, my daughter's not going to not play because some boy is taking the spot. Go play with the boys.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, we got a couple minutes here. Let me get a few text messages in. Jeff from Indiana says, thank you for making me hungry, Phil, when I only have access to crappy food. Well, brother, listen, I know you got your big old jar of pickled eggs and you stopped and got you some truck stop fried fish. Now, come on. I'm sorry. The good food's coming, man. And yes, we've already got our rack of ribs ready to go. Plus, Charlene's told me that you'll also be grilling hot dogs and some oh gosh, what's that sausage?
What time do I show
Kaneka
up?
sausage. Yeah, come on. They got the whole family, got all the grandkids coming. Everything's gonna be good.
So John on YouTube, back to the women in sports. 2004 14-year-old women's golfer Michelle Wie missed the cut in a men's golf tournament by one shot after missing an eagle putt. So I'd be inclined. I mean, especially in golf. Sure. If she can compete, like, go for it.
Well, they have
that's pretty amazing.
Tennis has mixed doubles.
Yeah.
But it's intentional at that point.
Yeah.
And if it's intentional and everybody's like, oh, you're a woman and you're playing as a woman in this thing. Okay. But don't pretend you're a woman when you're really not.
And I don't know if
Just
she's
saying.
playing against other 14-year-olds, but I mean, I would imagine she'd struggle in golf eventually, but
Mike from Athens says, did you know there are no Walmarts in Iran? Just Targets, and they all got blown up. I just see what he did there. Did you see that? No Walmarts, just Targets. Thank you, Mike. Adam from Athens says, good thing they didn't let them off the ship. There would be no more Virgin Islands. Oh, Lord God. Shame Manetti. Paul from Decatur says, hey, Colonel Paul in Decatur, best fireworks display is either Puff the Magic Dragon or A-10 Warthog lighting up the bad guys. And yeah, I can go with that. Listen, I watched Spectre doing its thing over Solder City one night. I think I talked about that the other day on the show. We had to sit there and you could see things blowing up in the distance because Solder City was part of my AO. But we actually pulled out lawn chairs and night vision goggles and sat there and watched Spectre just lighten up. Boom, 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 boom. And things would just, talk about fireworks. All right, listen, coming up next, it's the Grand Council. This time it's Jeff Poor and Scott Buttram. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. I'm in Tennessee, syndicated news talk leader, Right Side Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Right Side studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, sometimes the international. No, yeah, like the dude just said. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to hour number 3 on Hump Day. Hour number 3 on Hump Day, July 2nd, almost to the July 4th weekend. Listen, we do this thing every week, right? Top of the third hour, we come on in with a thing we call the Grand Council. And so I bring in 2 of my brethren that are out there in pundit world, and we ping each other with questions, and we go back and forth to see where the chips fall. So let me just call the roll. So right now, subbing in for the inimitable Dale Jackson is the titan of Trustful, the publisher and pundit, the editor, the publisher of Trustful Tribune, Scott Buttram. How are you doing, Scotty?
I'm present and accounted for.
How you like that for an introduction, huh?
I was pretty good. I didn't know who you were talking about for a minute there.
All right, turning my attention down yonder to the south, FM Talk 1065 in Mobile, host of the Jeff Poor Show, editor-in-chief of 1819 News, also does work with Breitbart, Lanyap, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Jeff Poor, are you there?
I am present.
You are indeed, and we're glad. All right, I pronounce a quorum. Hit it, Butters.
Assemble the Grand Council.
Ba-da. Ba-da. All right, fellers, you know the deal. We ask questions, we take answers, see what happens. So I'm going to say, Scott, thank you for joining us today. You may have the first question, sir. What is on your mind?
My question is this. We all follow statewide media. Jeff is knee-deep in statewide media. I'm involved with local media. You've got almost a statewide radio show or multi-state radio show at this point, Phil. We're watching our 5 largest cities just go through a complete disintegration of local media. Birmingham News is gone. Mobile paper's gone. Huntsville paper's gone. Tuscaloosa and Montgomery are basically a mirror image of each other, running almost all the same content. They might as well be gone. We've already talked about how people like Brian Lyman and some of these others have filtered over to nonprofit, agenda-driven, fake media outlets that are just writing stories for a particular agenda. As I look at AL.com, I see that this sort of stuff has completely infiltrated their website. Even employees who are not part of nonprofits, who actually work for AL.com, are writing much of the same exact agenda-driven slant. How does this affect our state going forward? Are 1819 and Yellowhammer News and conservative radio enough to get the message out, or are we missing a big audience out there?
Wow. Wow. Okay. Listen, that was almost a filibuster, but it was a really good question. So let me
didn't mean for that, but it was a long one. You're right.
Let me just flip it down to Jeff. Jeff, you go first, man. That's a great question that falls right in your wheelhouse. What do you think?
Yeah, there's a lot of difficulties here, and just we're trying to take a bite at the municipal elections. There's just too many municipalities, so without newspapers, I mean, it's really up to the consumer to figure it out on their own, and they're just not going to do that. They got other things. They got better things to do.
Right.
I don't think that the content that you're seeing with the Reflector and AL.com intermingled matters, because no one reads neither of those sites anyway. There's no traffic on the Reflector. I mean, like a left-wing website in Alabama that's politically driven, I guess, to release more dangerous felons from prison and expand Medicaid isn't really catching on. I never would have expected that. But in all seriousness, no one reads that stuff, and there's no audience for it. Even the people who might vote that way don't read that garbage. So I don't find that stuff to be relevant. But just as like 1819 and Yellowhammer, and as you guys have mentioned, I think we generally try to do a good job. But man, I mean, you start getting down to these local elections, it's way too much to get a grasp on.
And I'll tell you too. I mean, as an attorney, I also see it in terms of running. The ads you have to run for every estate you file, or anything that related to a bill collection or service by process or by publication. I mean, and all these things. And you got to think, okay, where are we getting this published now? So I mean, like right now, this is not politics, but there was a big drone show here in the Rainbow City area in Etowah County where I live. I didn't even know it because everything's on a
Right.
paywall.
Right.
The Gadsden Times is totally paywalled. You can't even see
Well,
things like the drone show. So
To answer your legal ad question, Phil, it's in the Alabama Gazette, which 0 people read
that's
in
exactly
my local community.
That's exactly right. And around here, it's the one that Craig Ford owns, called the Messenger, which just still chaps me. But
Right.
but yeah, I mean, if you're looking for the actual thing that used to get newsprint on your fingers, it's gone. And then if you want to see the one that talks about your local, it's just like it's hard because we're not seeing anything that's not paywalled.
Hey, can I do a follow-up real quick
Yeah,
before we go? Just a real quick, Jeff. I know you monitor, I know 1819 monitors their web traffic, and in doing so, you're looking at these other outlets. Is this shift they've made, is it working based on traffic trends that you're seeing?
No, not really. I mean, the traffic that's the AL.com has been a traffic spiral for more than a decade now. But they're still the big player. But like these other sites, and I not to toot our own horn here, but by a lot of metrics, we get the most traffic at 1819.
Yeah.
I tell you who does well is Alabama Political Reporter. They do better than you would think. But like Daily News, Yellowhammer's really suffered. I don't know what's going on there. Daily News doesn't draw flies. Todd Stacey Society does, I think, a generally good job. And the Reflector, man, it's abysmal.
Yeah, the Reflector. I mean, I prepare my show every day with resources, I call it, from every walk of life that I can find. And I constantly forget that the Reflector is even there. Hey, we're gonna run out of time here. Jeff, take the next question, buddy. What you got?
Senate version of Big Beautiful Bill, good, bad, ugly. Where are you on it?
Me personally, I'm for it, and I'm not a fan of some of the spending in there. But it's one of those things where I almost get to the point that I realize sometimes you have 90% friends, which is better than 100% enemies. And I think I've got to say I want this bill to pass. I want it for the tax, the Trump tax cuts. I want it for the border protection. I want it for some of the other tax cuts that are in there. There's enough in there to make me want it, where I'm going to have to swallow a little bit of what's there that I don't like. I'm not the one voting, but I saw just a minute ago, they literally put up on the screen that the current procedural vote in the House is held up because there are some holdouts. So they have their work cut out for them. I think they're going to get it passed, but that's where I'm at with it right now. What you got there, Scott?
Very similar to you. It's not a perfect bill. I completely support it. It needs to pass. I want it to pass. Look, we 40 years of bipartisan crap in government is not going to get fixed with a magic wand and one bill overnight.
Yeah.
Anybody that expected that is completely unreasonable and out of touch with reality. This is a big step forward. 1.6 trillion in spending cuts. That's a good start. A lot of work to do. A lot more cuts coming down the road that we're going to have to get to get our country under control fiscally. But yeah, support it.
So either Jeff agrees with us or he's about to write bad things about us in 1819. So Jeff, what do you think?
No, and I'm a little irritated by the naysayers. They know the reality of the politics in America right now. They know that this is a 51-49 country. This is as good as it's going to get. You got a gun to your head. You have to eat whichever the worst or best smelling pile of excrement it is. And so you got to do something here. You can't just do nothing and take the bullet, because then the civil society deteriorates. This is your last shot. Donald Trump is president, and he has slight Republican majorities in the House and the Senate. You wanted more, get more bigger, larger majorities in Congress, and then maybe we could talk. But right now, this is as good as it's going to get, so you need to just suck it up.
I would completely agree with that assessment. All right,
Amen.
we got about 2 minutes here, so let me sling one at you. So yesterday, the unveiling of the Alligator Alcatraz. The Alligator Alcatraz, basically a hastily thrown together detention center for illegal aliens down in Florida. Trump went down. Secretary Noam went down with him, and Governor DeSantis was there. And they put that thing together. And I mean, it was quality enough. It's going to work. And there's talk about other states. In fact, we even got called out. Alabama got called out by the president as potentially a site where the next version of an Alligator Alcatraz would be. My question to you is, Where would we put it? Can we have anything that compares to the alligator Alcatraz? And what will we call it? And I'll just go ahead and tell you, my vote is the Bammer Slammer. That's my name for it. What do y'all think?
Well, I'm either putting it in Biola Battery. Did I get that out?
Don't put it down here. No,
Well, my second choice was Fairhope.
Oh Lord! Now
That's where most of the gators are.
That's also
there's no gators in Fairhope. We had the Pitchforks and Torches designer brand at your doorstep.
They fight over a library in Fairhope. You don't want to set that thing up down there.
Fairhope has become a full-blown tutti frutti community.
All right, I love Fairhope, but yeah. All right, Jeff. So where would you, if you don't want it? Jeff doesn't want it in his backyard, is what I'm hearing. Where do you want it, Jeff?
No, not in my backyard. I would. I think Trustville there's got to be some land open up there for sure. You already have kind of a like-minded audience. Hey, how about this? They're fixing to close the Elmore County facility, one of the prisons in Elmore County. When they open the Governor Ivy prison, you can just take the old prison and turn it into Alabama Alcatraz, or whatever the hell you want to call it.
That's it.
I like it. Or take the old Victoryland facility and turn that into a detention center. Why not?
That's is Victoryland closed?
Well, maybe not. Okay. It's still there. All right, guys, we got to go to a break. That's right. That's round one of the Grand Council.
Taco Casa.
Oh, Taco Casa.
We're not serving those people Taco Casa. They'll never leave.
Phil Williams, Right Side Radio, Grand Council, round two coming up. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Going back to round 2 of the Grand Council with Scott Buttram from the Trustful Tribune and Jeff Poor from 1819 News and FM Talk 106.5 down in Mobile. And now, by the way, I got to remind you guys all that DeKalb MD, that's DeKalb MD, Healthcare Simplified. DeKalb MD is a sponsor of the Grand Council every Wednesday afternoon, and I'll tell you more about DeKalb MD here in just a minute. So let's go back, round 2. Scott Buttram, first question, what you got? Okay.
And guys, this sounds simplistic, but I'm pretty serious about this. Does he actually have a plan for Alabama, or does he just want to be governor?
Oh, interesting. I'll let you take it first, Jeff.
I don't think he has a plan yet. He wants to be governor. I mean, he's got time though. He doesn't need a real plan. I have been surprised, Scott, a little bit when he's asked about some of the particulars. He has thought about it. He has a decent enough answer, way more further down the field than I thought he was. But I don't know, like if you're, it would be good to have a plan, even like a go wide 65 or something to, have a bumper sticker on, but there's nothing yet. I don't know. I mean, I think everybody's waiting to see, and hopefully it's as good as we've been kind of created a perception that it would be.
Yeah, I'm going to say I think he has a plan. I think there's going to be nuances and details that are still be worked out, and there'll be some things that will be developed a little bit more over time. But I think that he's definitely got a plan that's going to involve things like economics and things like fiscal conservatism and also dealing. I think he's going to come in and deal with stuff at the state level like NIL and cultural issues. And I also think though. I think he's going to wind up being a guy who part of his plan is just to bring leadership. You know what I'm saying? I think that could be a part of a plan. And that's been absent for a while from the executive. I think we're looking at a guy who wants to come in and be able to rally the troops, give the halftime speech, so to speak, get people moving in a certain direction. And that in itself is really part of the plan, is to bring leadership. So there's my thought. Your own question, Scott. What are you thinking?
I think he's got a philosophy. I do not think he has much of a plan. I want him to be successful. I think it's inevitable he's going to be the governor of my state, and if he's governor, I want him to be successful and want Alabama to be successful. I'm not saying he's incapable of coming up with a plan, but I don't feel like he's really got one at this point. I do think he has a philosophy. I do think he is conservative. I think whatever he does will be along those lines. But I think being governor of a state is very different than being a United States senator. I'm a little concerned because I don't see these jobs necessarily translating one to another. And I hope he's got good advisors around him.
Well, that's going to be part of the thing too. I think it's going to be interesting to see who he brings in for his team. I don't think he's going to bring in a whole lot of Montgomery insiders. I think he's going to have a couple, but I think he's going to mostly bring in people from the outside, much like having your offensive and defensive coordinators as a head coach. I think he's going to be looking to bring in people who will help put things in order, if you will.
That might be good.
Do what? I'm sorry.
I said that might be good.
That might be very good to have an outside group. All right, Jeff Rowe, next question. What you got?
Really hate myself for even bringing this subject up. Trust me, it pains me more than it will pain you. They just denied bail for Diddy. They're not going to let him out until sentencing, and whatever that entails. The feds really blew it here, and they overcharged him. They built a weak case. I saw one guy called it the most expensive prostitution trial in American history. And, the judge has denied bail here. I don't know. I'm in the federal courts right now. Some of these prosecutors, I just find that to be, we're going after some big fish to get some headlines, and that's not what justice ought to be in America, even as odious as this case is.
Well, it was a tabloid trial. It was absolutely a tabloid trial, and it was probably a waste of federal tax dollars, especially the way they handle it. We got about 45 seconds left, but I'll just say, I do believe that this was a waste of effort, and I did not read a single article or watch a single story about it because it was not something that, in my opinion, deserved much of my time. Scott, what do you think?
I'm right there with you. The build-up was not justified by the trial that we saw.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to make movies about it, and they're going to have documentaries about it, and there's going to be an expose book, probably one of his own making, and he'll make millions off of this. But still, wow.
They'll
So
probably
what
play
you're
themselves.
saying? So what you're saying? The baby oil freak off is going to be sponsored by Right Side Radio. That's what I heard.
Not what I'm saying. That is, I heard somewhere in there though that 1819 has the exclusive. If you know what I mean. So there's.
Yeah, I was listening there. There wasn't a whole lot of me talking there. I'll just leave it at that.
All right, you guys, listen. I'm going to go ahead and leave my last question off, even though it would have been the best one of the entire segment. Nonetheless, I appreciate both of you. Scott Lutron, Jeff Poor, y'all have an amazing 4th. I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Thanks, Phil. You too.
Right Side Radio, last half hour coming up. conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just covering down to some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. I mean, like it goes from Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. It goes from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. It goes all the way down to that lovely little village on the plains we call Auburn, straight across the line from there to Fort Benning, and then big old patches in North Georgia and Mississippi all thrown in just for good measure. Yes, indeed. By the way, that's just the radio audience. That's our radio footprint. All of that, shoot, that's a patch of ground right there. But then there's a whole bunch of y'all, and we appreciate this like more than you could possibly know. There's a whole bunch of y'all that live stream the show every day, and we know it because we can see it. We see it right now on Facebook, on X, on Rumble, on YouTube, on our website, rightsidemedia.org. Thank you very much. And then all of y'all that podcast, listen, that's just so cool. I have people tell me all the time, I downloaded the show from yesterday to catch up, and thank you very much for that monologue or whatever. And the bottom line is this. We sit here every day in front of this microphone for 3 hours because of you. And I like to say that this show stands for some things, right? When I start, by the way, this weekend is the 4th anniversary of Right Side Radio. So this weekend, the 5th of July, we actually went on the air on July the 5th, 4 years ago on a Monday, and kicked off, and you guys embraced us like right off the bat. We just got the Nielsen rankings back recently. We're topping our markets. And all that's because of you guys. But it's also because I believe that we also bring a message that's worth having. And I tell folks all the time, and I mean this when I say it, I tell folks all the time, this show is driven by what I call the mission and the message. The mission and the message. And the mission is that every single day, we're going to do what I call the 4 E's. We're going to educate, enlighten, empower, and entertain you on what it means to be a conservative walking around in today's crazy world. That's the mission. But the mission is driven by the message. And the message is that every single day, I want you to hear that this show stands for Jesus is Lord, America is great, and life's worth living. So those 4 E's are part of that message. And anyway, you guys apparently have embraced it. And the rankings we got back show it. And I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. So thank y'all very much. Speaking of which, I got to say, Butters does an amazing job with our digital stuff, and he set up our online shop where people buy merchandise. Some of y'all bought some stuff today even. We have at rightsidemedia.org, that's rightsidemedia.org, our website, we have our merchandise shop. You can buy T-shirts, Right Side Ruffian T-shirts. You can buy our Flag History T-shirt. We got coffee mugs. We got hats. We got stickers. And we have our limited edition. Actually had to order a new batch of them, actually. Our limited edition Bulletproof Influence highball glasses. They are glasses that are engraved with the Right Side Media logo, and it says Bulletproof Influence on it. And there's an actual 308 round, a bullet, embedded in the glass. There's a company called Benshot that custom made these for us. That's one of our top sellers. All this stuff's on there. And Butters, in honor of the 4th of July, Butters set it up with a promo code, a discount, if you will. You go on there. If you decide you want to buy a T-shirt, the promo code is Liberty. I just gave you the clue. It's Liberty. In honor of the 4th of July, use the word Liberty, get a 10% discount on everything on our merchandise shop. It's out there for you. It runs out this weekend, so get you some while you can. And then you actually went one step further. The coffee mug.
Yeah, you get a little extra discount on the cork mugs. You buy a shirt. For those of you watching online, I just dropped a link directly to that American flag shirt.
Oh yeah.
So here, I would encourage it, even if you're not going to buy one, which makes me sad. You can read the history of the American flag right there. You're ready to teach your kids something over the 4th. So click on that link and go check it out. It's a cool shirt. But
the flag actually gives you, if you buy one of the shirts, it gives you an additional discount on the cork bottom limited edition mugs.
Oh, yeah.
All right, very cool. By the way, when you look at it, you can't tell, but that cork bottom mug's so cool because the logo is engraved in the mug. It's not a sticker, it's engraved in the mug. So anyway, okay, that's a shameless plug, but there it is. Hey, I got to remind you guys also, speaking of shameless plugs, that we just did the Grand Council, which we do every week, brought to you by DeKalb MD, DeKalb as in DeKalb County, DeKalb MD It's healthcare simplified, is what we like to say. So yeah, DeKalb MD, they're a direct primary care provider with network of clinics in Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee. Our Chattanooga audience, listen, there's 2 locations in Chattanooga. Look up DeKalb MD. It is so cool. Have you ever gone to the doctor and been irritated with the whole thing about copay and is your insurance card up to date and yada, yada, yada? How about this? None of that's necessary. DeKalb MD, healthcare simplified. It's concierge benefits, 1 payment a month. You join it like you join a gym. $75 a month, bam. You get same day or next day scheduling, longer visits with your healthcare provider. You get after hours access. They'll give you a direct phone number so you can text or call your healthcare provider. They'll even mail medications to your house. $75 a month. It's a membership thing. DeKalb MD. They like to say they work with you instead of your insurance. So yeah, DeKalb MD, primary care with you in mind. Check them out today. Here's their website. I'm going to tell you, you might want to go check it out. Just go look at it if nothing else. DeKalbMD.com. That's it. www.DeKalbMD.com. Schedule an appointment and tell them, if you would, that you heard about it on Right Side Radio. All right, let me get some text messages here and get caught up. What do we got here? Jamie from Pulaski, Alabama says, today in 2008, we interred my father and mother at Arlington National Cemetery. Wow, man. He said he passed away on April 15th, and my mother passed away on of 2008. My mother passed away on March 15th, 1971. 71. His last request before he died was to exhume my mother and transport both from Montgomery to D.C. Wow. Isn't that amazing? And he sends a picture of his dad, who it looks like he's wearing cross rifles of an infantryman, if I see it correctly, on his uniform. Very cool. Jamie, thank you for that. And thank you for your family's service. Arlington Cemetery. How about that? DT from Elkmont checking in on I hear you, DT. Thank you very much. We did what we could. Bruce from Springville says, I'm so glad common sense is ruling on the fact that males can no longer compete against women in their own little sports fairyland. And then he goes on to say, like the guy said, put the Alabama Alcatraz at the one that is closing and then name it the Habanero Hell. Wow. The Habanero Hell. Good Lord.
It's got a good name. Sounds more Texas-y though.
It does. I'm still partial to the Bammer Slammer. Call it the Bammer Slammer. Be done with it. Darlene from Decatur says about the Bammer Slammer. It doesn't matter what it's called or where it is in Alabama, but make the detainees listen to all of the loud Dale Jackson commercials on repeat, especially the ones about pools, fences, and garage doors. That's hilarious.
Go pull the music guy to listen to in SEER school.
Goodness. What do we got from John C. from Madison? What? Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, John on YouTube said Scott Buttram definitely wins the Grand Council segment.
Oh, did he really? Wow.
Sorry.
Hey, what's up? Well, see, I didn't get to ask my second question. Otherwise, I would have won. I feel certain. Now, Scott Buttram always brings the heat when he comes in. It was kind of funny, though. I thought I was going to have to cut him off on that first question. He kept going. I think I even said practically a filibuster, but that's okay. We got John C. from Madison sending me the banner of his American Pride Carpet Cleaners Company. So yeah, it looks good, man. And I appreciate that. It's got all of his veterans discounts on there. I see that. Very cool. Thank you very much. And then Tom from Decatur says, put it next to Holman, that's the prison, and call it the Holman Hotel. Nice. What about this? What about we find, like, I don't know, some piece of abandoned property like the Bellefonte nuclear plant that's still sitting there. Just go ahead and put cots in it. Call it done. You've already got a roof over your head.
Yeah, I mean, surely there's infrastructure that's already built that could be utilized.
Jeff from Athens wants to call it the Cotton Clink. The Cotton Clink. I don't know. I'm having visions of Oh Brother, Where Art Thou right now. Come on in, fellers. The water's fine. I don't know. You know what, though? I do appreciate Ron DeSantis being out the gate on that thing. And it's something that easily that I look at this kind of stuff and I think Kay Ivey could be doing this if she wanted to. But when's the last time we saw Kay Ivey, by the way? I don't think we've seen her in a while. Listen, I've known Kay for years. I really appreciated her early on, especially. We campaigned together, we worked together. But she is She is not leading the state right now. Not at all. I will say this. I did have a whole section that I was going to bring in to compare red states to blue states. I'm not going to have time for a lot of it. So let me just do one piece, though, I want to point out to you. I want to remind you guys, as much as we can get frustrated, and we do, we can get frustrated with our state politics. We can get frustrated with where we live. We can get frustrated when, all you Georgia people elected a Democrat like Warnock. We get frustrated when we see the mayor of Nashville up there trying to oppose ICE. We can get frustrated when we see, state politics in Alabama letting a good tax benefit like the overtime tax exception expire for no reason. We can get frustrated, but I want to remind you guys what it's like to live in other places. So here's an example. In Alabama, we live in an open carry state. If you're a Second Amendment person, then you know what that means. We can carry a pistol on our side without any fear or concern. We don't have to even have a permit anymore. You can get a permit. I get a permit anyway, just so that I can go to other states and not worry about it. But the truth is, we live in a gun-friendly state. Compare that to, like Florida. Florida's a gun-friendly state. Florida actually just led the way. I love this. Ron DeSantis just announced 2 days ago that they're doing a Second Amendment tax holiday. You can buy guns and ammo and gun-related gear tax-free from September through the end of the year. Just basically load up on Christmas. No pun intended. But yeah, so in Florida, they're so gun-friendly, they even say it'll be tax-free if you want to buy one for a good third of the year. There's that. And then compare that to living in a blue state. How about this one? Breitbart has a piece that came out 2 days ago. At the same time that Florida is implementing its tax-free holiday for Second Amendment, they call it the Second Amendment tax holiday, is what they're calling it. Up yonder in Oregon, they're putting restrictions on your ability to even carry a firearm. The governor is expected to sign legislation that it just passed the Oregon legislature. It empowers cities, counties, and other local jurisdictions to impose restrictions on the carrying of concealed handguns in certain places. It also bans the possession of bump stocks and trigger cranks because those are scary. The bill does not make people safer. It punishes law-abiding citizens, said one lone Republican. It goes into effect here pretty quick, and it's also going to have a ballot measure. There's another one that have a ballot measure, and it blocks implementation of even lawsuits in some cases on the issue. How about that? Don't forget where you live and the value of living in a red state. Don't take it for granted. It's a big deal. It's a whole mood, man. All right, take me to the last break of the day there, Butterman. We'll take a break. We'll come right back and catch up on some text messages and see what's up. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just pulling pins on truth grenades. That's what we've been doing. And by the way, Chris from Gadsden just checked in, and he says that with regards to the Bammer Slammer, he said they could use an abandoned oil platform in the Gulf as a prison. I like that idea, actually. I like that a lot. In the Gulf of America, thank you very much. Come to America illegally, guess what? You'll be sitting out in the Gulf of America. I like it. Grades are in. John from Huntsville says Jeff Poor gets a solid A for his awesome performance. Scott Buttram gets an A+ for his spectacular Grand Council performance. However, today's co-champions are Butters and Phil with an A++ for their nearly perfect performances, and keep up the good work. Congratulations. Thank you, John. Appreciate you, man. Let me go to the phones because he's on the line right now. Jeff Rowe from Indiana. Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm still moving.
Well,
I've not become a static display yet in the great city of Nashville.
Well, now that I know about the Batman building, have you already passed the Batman building?
No, I can't even see the thing yet.
Oh, gosh.
It's not that good.
Well, good enough. All right. Well, listen, are you going to get the 4th off, or you got to work on it?
No, I'm off till Monday. So
Well,
yeah, I
there you
get a nice holiday weekend, nice Independence Day break, I guess you'd say.
Well, I have given the Right Side staff a similar break. So tomorrow and Friday, we're going to have replay stuff going, giving the staff the opportunity to be with family and celebrate the 4th.
Oh, that sounds like a wonderful idea. I just wish I could be there to get some of that Canucka sausage, man. We got that stuff up here, and I eat that stuff all the time.
Man, Canucka, I'll tell you what, you go ahead and grill up some Canucka sausages, then cut it up, put a little barbecue sauce on the plate, sprinkle it with some seasoning salt. Shoot, man, that's all day long right there. All day long.
Shrimp boil. Oh, man. Yeah. I'm hungry again, dang it.
Butters is over here having to have paroxysms. He's hearing all this food and starting to salivate. Stop drooling on your board over there, man. What are you doing?
We're making everyone hungry in the state of Alabama right now.
It's perfect. I like it. What do you got going on for the 4th, man? You got any plans?
I think we're just going to have the kids over and do a little swim party there at the house and cook out a few things and just relax for a change.
That's our plan, except that I do have the plan. I will be making Captain America waffles on one of the mornings.
Ooh, that's good.
You got my
A
Captain
little red, white, and
America.
blue in there, are you?
No, just my Captain America waffle iron. It actually has like the big star, like the shield, and so
Oh.
that's a big thing. My granddaddy name is Cap. The grandkids call me Cap. So we're making
Hey.
Captain America waffles. I'm looking forward to it.
You sure that's not the right side radio star on the middle of that?
You know
waffle
what?
machine?
Maybe it is. Maybe it's a ruffian star. I don't know. We have to look at that. That actually
I
fits.
think that's probably what you could rename it. Repurposing these things.
Hey, let me ask you this. We got a
But-
couple minutes left, Jeff. But when you were a kid,
Uh-huh.
were you the one that was dangerous with the fireworks, or were you respectful with the fireworks?
I was smart enough to do stupid things, but know my limits.
That's
But-
called wisdom. You were wise at an early age.
Especially when we had a pond. The pond at the house there was, like 50 feet from the house. So it's fun to sit up on the bank and shoot bottle rockets into the pond and watch them blow up underwater.
Oh yeah, I did that. I forgot. Yes, absolutely. Which is always amazing because when they get underwater, you're like, okay, it's going to fizz out. But no, they would still work. I don't know about you,
yeah.
but did you ever? I talked about it yesterday. Did you ever have M80s when you were growing up?
No, I had them stupid pyro pops or whatever. They'd sit there and claim they'd be M80 or whatever, but it was just a little, had stuff, sawdust and a little primer thing in there. Is about all they was. They'd make a big noise, but didn't have no power behind them.
All I know is I think Congress was wise for actually outlawing that. So because I was one of those kids. You might lose your mailbox if I had something like that. I'm just around the neighborhood,
Yeah,
just blowing things up.
Good possibility.
It's the Williams kid
Yeah.
again. He's blowing stuff up. But all right, man. Well,
No,
listen,
but
go ahead. Yeah.
but what I want to say, Phil, is congratulations on 4 years of Right Side Radio.
Oh,
I hate to say it, but thank you, Dale Jackson, for getting you involved.
It was a call from Dale. That's how it all started. I got to give him props,
Yeah.
man. But I appreciate it, man, and thank you for being a part of the very fabric of this show. You are a part of the Right Side family. We appreciate you more than you could possibly know.
I've pretty much been there since day one.
You have?
I'll be there till the end. Yeah,
All right,
of
man.
course.
Well, blessings on your 4th of July, and we will talk to you next week. All right.
All right, you all have a fantastic Independence Day weekend.
We'll do it. You too. See you.
See ya.
Well, there you go. Listen, that is the thing, man. You audience members out there, a lot of y'all have been with us forever. And like I said, the rankings we just got back show that audience loyalty is pretty incredible with this show. That when y'all tune in, you tend to stay on. And can't tell you how much that means to us. All said and done, we do enjoy what we do. In 4 years, go figure. I'm still trying to figure out how it even happened. But yeah. I will sign off by saying this. Happy Independence Day. God bless America. There's more of us than there are them. God is still on his throne. Y'all stay in the fight. We'll see you Monday.